Here we go. Okay. I know I said 7 o'clock. It's closer to 7:30. Rawr! Yes, I know. There's a reason for that. It's because I was asleep. I fell asleep. I took a nap, or should I say, possibly the nap took me. So, let's see what we got here. Righty then. We got Twitch going on over here. Refresh. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, here we go. We are on here. All right. Yeah, I took a nap for like 2 months. Well, I took a nap for like 2 hours. I got home a little bit before 5, and I woke up just like, what, 29 minutes ago. I literally woke up at 6:59. Yeah, hey Quantum, it's good to be back. Well, it's been a rough summer. My AC went out, and the hobby space here was kind of miserable. So it was it's pretty awful. I was getting overwhelmed with work. Just had a lot of things going on, and you know, sometimes sometimes you have to simplify life. So I simplified life by dropping off the stream, the whole streaming thing. I've got a lot of things to edit, but yeah. Actually, be number 54. September. Shenanigans. The thing about the YouTube side of things is the YouTube is a little, let's see, sometimes I do have a promotion here. Do I? No, I don't do any of that. Automatic concepts, allow automatic places. I don't know, I guess, maybe. English. United States English, which some people might say is not English at all. Title and description language, also English. Just barely, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, English. Here we go. YouTube's got some backwards things here. Comments on top. Yes, yes, yes. Alright. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Had to cancel a couple of streams because the temp went to 100 outside and plus 5 to 10 degrees in the hobby room. Yeah, Quantum. It's kind of like that. So it's been a rough one. And the money that I would have rather spent on upgrading my equipment for the streams, I had to spend on air conditioning. So that was no fun. So my central air is out. I mean, obviously the furnace is still going to work, no problem. It's just which going into the cold seasons, that's what we want, right? But currently my AC is a big window unit upstairs, and it's just being circulated through the house. Which right now, the last week or so has been absolutely pleasant, and all I needed, So AC is an equipment upgrade. Yes, yeah, it is absolutely Quantum. Yeah, it is. But I could get another coil for like $1,200, a condenser unit. But the problem is the coil on the inside. There's two coils in an AC unit, right? There's the one that's on the outside and there's the one that's on the inside. The condensing coil on the outside is what went out. It was the compressor. So, getting them to replace the compressor, there could still be a blockage in the line. So, who knows? And then the coil, the inside side of the coil, is not the kind. It might not work with a new coil on the inside. So what can you do? So it is what it is. Let's see. So I'm just trying to get my OBS set back up here, so just bear with me for another couple of minutes here, if you don't mind, folks. We're not suffering technical difficulties, really, but we are just dealing with things as they are being dealt with here. Alright. Let's see. So I still haven't figured out how to get Social Stream Ninja to work yet. So it is going to be what it's going to be. So we'll just do it the old-fashioned way. We'll just duct tape it together here. We're just going to duct tape our combined chats sort of together. And we're just going to deal with it as it is. Yeah, still starting. So here we go. Yep. Yeah, I was trying to get my combined chats to combine here. Quantum. So, yeah. So we are live now. Yes, liver. Alright. So. Okay. Yeah. So I've had so this is where I stopped back at, what was that? September? No. July? Beginning of July, end of June, beginning of July. It was just after Origins that I took a little break. So, because it was hot. It was just way too hot. Couldn't really do much for it, so. Wasn't much for it. So we're gonna stick together a little British dude here. First off, I think. And yeah, here we go. And away we go. So, all right. So the plan is, folks, I got the new, it's not quite so new now, but I got this a week before the general public. I got it from Dave Taylor and Jake Krajewski over at Build Paint Play. They did a little drawing. So I got that. Is the new Fanatics paint line, the historical ones. And so the plan is to do some experimentation with it. Maybe hopefully do a video. So as you can see, I've got 3 of these dudes in 3 different colors of primer here. So black primer and a mortar, white primer and a submachine gun, and brown or brownish red oxide primer with a Bren gun. So, heavens to Megatroid, right? So, we'll be doing that, and then I want to do a gray primer over this guy here. So we'll stick him together first thing on business, because he's all in pieces right now. So we'll go ahead and deal with that. But yeah, the plan was this year I wanted to spend a couple $100 and get a ATEM deck, because I've got a couple of cameras now that will do HD output, and the ATEM deck, I can do the HT output into the ATEM deck, and the ATEM deck goes into the USB port on my computer, and I can still use OBS as my broadcast. You can use the ATEM deck as a broadcast as well, but I don't know if it can do multicasting. As you know, we are live at 5 on both Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble, all 3 of them. So I figure that everybody everybody out there has different tastes in their streaming platforms. So we go where the people are, right? I want to be where the people are. So we're going to stick this dude together here. We'll just do a little cleanup here. But yeah, this camera, it was good for what it was for the time being. But it was never really I was never really satisfied with the output on it, because there's no way to adjust the aspect ratio on it. But it is a macro camera. But I think I have better solutions, you know. And you should work on setting up a combined chat feed so we can read chats from other services. Yeah, the only problem with that, Quantum, there is a problem with that, and doing that on Rumble and YouTube it would be fine. However, Twitch does not want people to do that because things could come across the feed that are against their TOS. I get that. It does make it easier on me as far as moderation goes. But yeah, but you're really not missing anything, Quantum. There's, you know, one, I'd be reading out from the other services, but there's really nobody using on the other services right now anyway. They're just kind of blank screens. So you're not missing much. But it'd be great to have a line editor that could pull that kind of thing up when there was something notable. They could bring something up like that from there. Also, I don't know if you can see it, Quantum, but down there where it says support JP Gotrokkits, there's also another button for this month's charity. So this is September, so if people subscribe on Twitch, they get it at a significant discount for their subscription. However, there's also I had to say this in the YouTube way because YouTube is dumb. I don't know if it's I don't really know how much YouTube pays attention or what their algorithm is like, but a lot of people that deal with sensitive topics sometimes have to mask them. So we'll say that self-deletion awareness month. So the charity of choice is for 988. 988 is, of course, the self-deletion hotline where you can call if you're not feeling too good, and if you're not feeling too good about yourself and life, or possibly know somebody that's not feeling too good. So but yeah, the combined chat feature for me on the back end back here is kind of where we're at, just because there are terms of service that limit what can go out on your screen, Quantum. So, but I get what you're saying, man. let me just take a look while I wait for that glue to set up. Let me take a look on something real quick. Be right back. See. When you stream on multiple services, you have to abide by an intersection of their terms. Yeah, you have to kind of keep in mind what everybody's doing, and that's why I had to use code words for 988 and what it's about, right? Hey, Patty, Pumpkin messed with the OBS. Yeah, Pumpkin did mess with the OBS. That's exactly right. I had to fiddle and fight around with it. Patty's Parlor Games is over on Rumble. So that is the chat from yonder. Hey, DD Minis, how's it going? How you doing? So let's see. I don't see it over here. Let's see. Maybe it's because I'm on mobile. I don't know. See a lot of cannons. Yes, Miar, how's it going? Not bad. Did you think Bourbon City Brawl? Bourbon City Brawl. I do not know. I'm thinking about it, but I've got a thing coming up this weekend, and that's $150 for the hotel room, and this last month has been a little on the rough side. Yes, Patty, I am doing a charity drive this month. Over here on Twitch, there should be a button that allows you to make a donation through the Twitch app, or if you're on the web on a computer, you should be able to see that there. I was just looking on my tablet, but Chrome on tablet is evidently different than Chrome on what's it? Chrome on a tablet is different than Chrome on a computer. So I don't know if it's not showing it. It's not showing the button for the donation on my tablet, but it doesn't mean that it's not out there. And because I've got the chats all pulled up, I don't want to lose you all, just to check. So if somebody can take a look and see if that donation button is there on the Twitch side of things. Sure, wifey would be fine with you crashing with us. Well, DD, that would be most agreeable to me. Find out what she thinks about it. We might do that. That'd be fun. Haven't seen you for a while. We barely got to hang out at Gen Con last year. So Didn't get to see you this year at all yet, so something maybe. If she's all right with it, what do they call it? She who must be obeyed. That would be something we could do. The old public service announcement. This is Chrome. This is Chrome on your tablet. Any questions? Yeah. Yeah, Chrome on the tablet might be different than Chrome on the computer, so. But there should be a link for that. So the goal is $250, which I know it's not a lot, but I figure if we have a what some people call eye level goals, things that are easily achievable. So the goal is $250 for the 988 service. Can't see the donation on the Twitch at 250. It can go a long way for those people. It ain't nothing. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's probably a day's wage, you know. Maybe a day's wage for a couple of people sitting there on the phones talking to somebody, or you know. And you know, there's all sorts of charities. There's local self-deletion. Thanks YouTube, make us talk like a bunch of babies. That is the one thing I do not like about YouTube, is you can't talk about serious things in a serious manner without Al Gore's rhythm dinging you, or at least supposedly. I mean, I've seen some people say that it doesn't really, but you know, I've also seen evidence that it does, so who knows. They probably have a little gremlin in a back room flipping random levers and switches, you know. So, yes, yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. You know, because, I mean, there's an old saying I like: whatever things are true, whatever things are just, whatever things are chaste, these are the things you should talk about. And so those things are serious, and those things are good to talk about, because you might help somebody by talking about those things in a frank and adult manner, you know. But yeah, if somebody can just take a look and see if that button is active. If it's not active tonight, it will be by Thursday. But I sat down and I put that together this morning before I left for work. So well, it would be nice to have subscriptions. If somebody would rather make a donation in lieu of a subscription this month, that would be terrific. And if you do subscribe as well, just know that your subscription goes to improving the channel. Like I said, the goal for that is my subscription, my improvement goal is about $250 as well, because the I need to get that ATEM deck, which allows me to set up 4 cameras. Probably just set up 3, but it just sends out one signal to the computer, so the computer doesn't have to do all the work. And for some reason, one of my cameras is just not, my onboard camera is not working, but I do have a work. Anytime if I've got one USB port, one USB channel working, one is enough. So, but I don't expect that to happen. But I would rather see those donations go. So, and there's nothing that says we can't pass that up either. Yes, pansies, here. Where? Let's see. This guy's got some extra ammo going on here. So, let's put this right there. Maybe. Yeah. One USB port will support 127 devices. At least that's with USB 2.0, right? But even with one USB, it's weird because I can't get my onboard camera working on the laptop. So for whatever reason, whether solder broke or it's not recognizing it, I'm not sure. But one day I just came in and it wasn't working, so we live with it. But the ATEM would actually be what the best thing would be. So the ATEM deck allows me to do so many more things. Hard to find even a used one for a good price. What am I painting tonight? Well, I'm sticking together this British troop, the World War II guy, because I'm going to, the plan here is to prime him up in gray. So I'm going to finish building him because his parts were just sitting here. But tonight I'll probably be working on some more of these cannons. I'll probably throw a couple of licks on these cannons. So these I'm painting up for Sea Dog Game Studios for the display at the conventions where they sell the cannons, so you can buy cannons individually. And of course these are 28mm scale cannons. So they would work well with obviously 28mm scale dudes. So let me just shows you what I got in mind here. I'm going to paint him in hot pink. Well, I'm going to prime him in gray first, because I'm going to prime him in gray because I have 3 others that are primed in back in black, classic black, right? Weird fly there. I've got one primed in white, just regular old flat white from the hardware store. He's got himself a little Sten gun, and then we've got a Bren gunner in oxide brown. I used oxide brown because my dark flat camo brown is all used up, so I gotta pick some more of that up. And then so this guy's going to be primed in gray, and so here's a little size comparison for these cannons here. So here is a mortar of the time period, and this is a 28 millimeter dude, red coat. Got the fuzzies there. So there's that, right? Badoomp. And let's see, I've got a carronade here somewhere, maybe. So here's the Mons Meg. This is actual cannon in real life. So you could even use that as a cannon in like a 15 millimeter scale fantasy game for a really big cannon. But there's the Mons Meg. You can see how big in real life that would be. Dude could crawl in there and take a nap. So that's a real cannon from a real war. Not really sure which one it is. I guess we could look it up. Mons Meg. The MONSMEG. Mons Meg. And then 32 pounder here. Looks like 32 pound carronade. Of the kind that would be on a ship. So you can see the bore is not, that'd be about like a 6-inch bore. 32 pound gun, 6-inch bore. That'd ventilate you. I've got some more of those, I think, in another bag here. Let's see. Checking your Twitch goals, and I don't see the helpline listed. Okay. All right. Thanks, Miar. I'll take a look at it after. Or sorry, that was Quantum said that. Thanks, Quantum. I will check that out. Yeah, see you, Patty. Over on Rumble. See you later, man. Don't see the helpline listed yet. Yeah, that figure makes a lot more sense than the World War II figure using those cannons. Yeah. Miar says, someone told about a Viking game called Raven Feast by Little Wars TV. Yes. Yes, it's a thing. If you go to Little Wars TV, you can actually download it for free. And speaking of downloading for free, there's his helmet. Here we go. Yeah. So this line of cannons goes all the way back to the late Middle Ages, early Renaissance. This is the pot de fer. You can see how small that was, how big that body is. So they would put kind of like a quarrel. Sometimes they would use a rock or a bolt, like a crossbow bolt in that. So, and then they figured out that a stone chipped down to the right size was a lot more useful, a lot cheaper too. So. Yep, free. Yeah, the Raven's Feast is a good game. I've got a hard copy of it. They gave out hard copies at Historicon a couple of years ago. But it's a cool little game. You could play it in 15 or 28 millimeter. The great thing is if you get one box of, I guess Victrix makes Vikings, and of the proper miniatures, it would probably serve for both sides in a small game of Raven's Feast. You could probably use maybe 2. I don't know if Warlords makes Vikings or not. I would assume they do. Oh, what in the world? Okay, Mr. Hobby, Mr. Surfacer. That just fell out. Ooh, icky. Gotta touch the nasty chemicals with my hands here. Gross. Maybe I'll transfer that into the Tamiya bottle. It's not as good as Tamiya, quite honestly. But the little wand fell apart on me. Can't say I much cared for that. Maybe his helmet slipped down over his eyes a little bit. So that's a pretty good pose. A little forward charging pose there. And I'll wait for him to completely cure up and dry before I get some more of those mold lines off. I missed a spot right there. So we're going to let him set him aside with his comrades in arms. And I'll prime him this week with some gray. Heretic Scott, how's it going? Happened just as I joined. Oh, bad ads. I see. Phalanx Games and Suntree sells Vikings. Yes, they do. Some of the time, but those cannons are awesome. Yeah. Those cannons reminded me. Phalanx Games. Yeah, Phalanx Games is hosting a small convention at the beginning of November down in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. And Hopkinsville is I won't say it's an easy drive, but I've been to Hopkinsville before. I know where it is. Unfortunately, it's the same weekend as the Shawnee State Gaming Conference, which is where I usually run a paint and take. Yeah. Phalanx Con is in Kentucky, Miar. I think Monster Den is looking to support that there with some instructions. I think he's running classes. So I would like to go, but unfortunately I have a previous engagement, standing engagement that weekend. So, all right. Do I want to paint some more, or do I want to put some more dudes together? These guys are halfway done. These guys are 3/4 of the way done. I'm working on some. What are these guys called? They don't call them tactical Marines anymore. They call them intercessors. I don't know what they're intercessing, but whatever. So I just don't like scraping off plastic over my paint palette, but we'll do it anyway. So we'll go ahead and do this. So I got five backpacks to get rid of the mold lines on. So we'll do that and glue it to these guys. So I'm just doing a lot of little things here and there. We're building so we can paint later. I don't know if I'll get to paint tonight, but we're doing hobby. This is a hobby stream, and we're doing the hobby. Don't come here expecting to see the same thing all the time. You know how it is, folks. This is a very variety hobby channel. I could be painting one week, building another, but if we always think about it, the goal is to play. Now, whether that play takes the form of entering a contest or pushing some plastic and metal dudes across the table, doing in Mortal Kombat with your friend, we're always looking to build, paint, and play, right? So build, paint, play. That's 3 steps. Give me 3 steps, mister. Give me 3 steps out the door. Give me 3 steps. Give me 3 steps, mister. And I won't trouble you no more. Build, paint, play. So, on cannons, I read about the Civil War experiential double-barreled cannons that shot 2 cannonballs connected by a chain. It went about as disastrously as you might expect. Yeah, it's better to put both cannonballs by a chain and stuff them down and fire them at once. Because what happens is, because black powder is, there's a lot of variance in black powder. So if you had one barrel that fired, and it was, you could light them both at the same time, but the black powder, there's going to be a lag there. So you would have one cannonball start out, give about here when this one fired off, and it would get about here. But this chain is coming out, and if they're connected by a chain and it's going from one muzzle to the other, then this is going to swing out this way, and this one's going to be about here when this one gets around here, and that's going to go flying off. It's going to be just a big old mess. So yeah, arms. They've tried all sorts of arms experiment. I mean, DARPA 1862, right? Alright, let's go ahead and scrape some of these rotten old mold lines off. So yeah, that would be a bad idea. 2 cannonballs out of 2 barrels connected by a chain. So greetings to Heretic Scott, who showed up during the advertisements. He is in the middle of building out his studio. So check him out on Instagram if you don't already follow Heretic Scott. Pretty cool. It's an amazing looking little studio space. May your air conditioning always work. My air conditioning pooped out on me this year, and so that was a major contributor as to why I took a break, because it was so doggone hot here. But the money that I would have spent on improving the channel went to, I spent $800, nearly $1,000 on 2 window units. And I had to go back and forth to the Menards like 3 times to get the ones that would fit. And of course the Menards nearby wouldn't have them. So I had to drive 2.5 hours to get it. So that was a hassle. Menards is a DIY place, for those of you who don't know. Kind of like Lowe's and Home Depot. I kind of like Menards better for a lot of things. They've got a much better electrical and plumbing department. Much better. You can find all sorts of neat things there that you can't find at Lowe's or Home Depot. Even with the same charge firing both muzzles. Needs to come to my place and help me with the same solution. Even with the same charge firing both muzzles, slight differences in barrel friction will make the cannonballs move at different rates. Yeah, they came out spinning until the chain broke, right? Coming along. I'm currently doing scrim on my walls before I skim them. Yep, a skim coat. Yep. Very cool. Yeah, I took some time off back in the wintertime from the channel to reorganize the pocket dimension here, and as you can see, what was organized did not stay organized. But you'll get that. So I don't know if I'm terribly organized, terribly busy guy, or is it terribly busy or incredibly busy? So sometimes things fall by the wayside. But Gen Con was a little melancholy this year. I feel like Gen Con doesn't understand miniatures games. And I'll leave it at that. Entropy happens. Yes, entropy. That's what we'll call it. Yep, entropy happens. Whether you want it to or not. Well, the thing is I didn't want to have more than one project on my desk at one time, and I had plans on how I was going to do things, and I wasn't going to have 2 or 3 things. I was going to finish up what I was working on before starting anything else. You know, I also bought a bridge, which I'll sell to anybody out there if they think they're going to do the same. Oceanfront property in Arizona. So just cleaning up, trying to get these pesky old mold lines to go away. And of course the secret sauce when you got a mold line that just won't go away is you can take a little bit of plastic cement and you can clean it up, because it will dissolve and smooth out. But this seems to be a fairly hot product. It must have a high level of acetone in it, because it tends to just flash off really fast. But that's one way to get rid of some really pesky mold lines that might be bothering you. A bridge. Yes, I bought a bridge because I told myself that I wasn't going to let my desk get out of hand after organizing it, but it's gotten out of hand. So the old joke is, if you believe that, I've got a bridge to sell you. So I believed my own propaganda. It was a noble thought. But xenon and argon are also noble. But yeah, I'll have to see if I can figure out how to get that that charity button working. It was supposed to be up and running, but I guess it's not as one click and go, point and shoot, as I thought it was going to be. I didn't have time to really verify it. I just kind of got in, got things reset, did all my updates on the computer. I was like, well, all right, here we go. We'll be ready for tonight. I should have had my OBS set up and ready to go, but I had to light the fires and kick the tires to get that going tonight. So, which it took some time getting it set up, because I took a nap, or I should say the nap took me. Because when you're old, you get tired. I didn't sleep real well last night either, so that was probably why I shuffled off to dreamland. Shuffled off to slumberland. So rapidly this evening when I came home from work. Miar says he never sleeps well. Yeah, lots of reasons for that, aren't there? You know, something I decided to do is watch my coffee intake. That helped a lot. But I also had a round of COVID hit me back in August. So that messed me up a little bit. Wifey be good with it. Very cool. Well, I'll put that on my calendar, DD. I'll just make sure that it doesn't conflict with any previous... I don't think it conflicts with any previous engagements, but I will... I'll take a look, make sure. But... yeah, if I come out for the weekend, I'm coming out. I want to go as a player. I don't want to run a paint and take. I mean, I would like to, but you know, I've only got one little convention that's ever offered to take care of my lodging, because you know I'm working and I'm adding value to their convention. So I think they've already got somebody lined up to do a paint and take there at that one, so I think I'll just come as a player. Maybe if there's a participation game or something. So maybe we'll just, hey, I got an idea, DD. I'll talk to you about it later. It's in regards to an ongoing project of mine, which you'll probably guess because we talked about it before. But yeah, So that might be something cool we can do. If I get a weekend pass before September 7th, it's $35. True? Good to know. So this coming weekend, I will be at Huracan. Not Huracan in Florida, but Huracan in Hurricane, West Virginia. 2 different conventions altogether. I think Huracan is actually in Florida. I think that one is actually an HMGS gig. Not sure. Yeah, let me just confirm that I don't have any previous engagements that weekend, DD, and then should be good to go. Oh, there's some mold lines that I missed right there. And no, those mold lines just go away. It's good if they're very small mold lines. If they are too big, too much of a step, this won't work on it. But yeah, DD thinks he knows it. What I should do between now and then is I should put together some of my sail power stuff, and we could maybe go to the open play area and run some sail power. We had a really good time at Gen Con running sail power in open play. Long story that, don't want to get into it, but it leads back to my earlier statement a few minutes ago, and when I say that I think that Gen Con doesn't understand miniatures gaming, and what miniatures gamers need. But that's enough to say on that. Like I said, it was a bittersweet time at Gen Con this year. I started out a little bit behind anyway because I was down with a migraine when I was supposed to be driving up to Columbus to meet up with the crew. Yeah, Miar, I saw that. I saw the pictures, and she posted up in the Sea Dog Game Studios Discord too. So, and then if you own your own ship for sail power and you bring it to an event, you actually get perks. So, but the thing is, so there's the sailing part. I enjoy that. The plotting is actually not hard to do. The concept is a little bit odd at first, but once you've got it dialed in, and most people get it dialed in by the beginning of the second turn, and by the third turn they're just blazing right through the turns. So introduction games always go a little slow for sail power because there's a lot to, I won't say a lot to go over, but it's just basically how to interact with the character / ship sheet, because the ship is your character. You are the captain, so you have all of the power of the captain. Of the time period. it's very open world. Yeah, she posted. It's in the Sail Power discussion on the Sea Dog Game Studios Discord. There you are. So it's nice to see you and Mrs. Miar's smiling faces in that picture. It's nice that you could get out for the afternoon. Get away from the house, right? Anyway, Hurricane this coming weekend is a convention with a charity aspect to it. They are trying to raise money for the American Cancer Society. So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Long story behind that too. Again, a lot of inside baseball, a lot of behind the scenes things that happened with another convention that was supposed to do something similar. But there were some things that didn't set right with the people that are running this convention about that last convention that was there. That was ostensibly for charity reasons. Well scrimmed. Ceilings treated and primed. Wall scrim ceiling all treated and primed. We'll do the next wall skins tomorrow. I think it's a dual skin setup on doing about an 11 millimeter air gap between particulate boards. One layer ply, one layer OSB. Wow, that's going to be very soundproof. That's a lot of density there, Heretic Scott. You playing drums up there? Especially if you have an air gap, that can help mitigate a lot of sound sources. Lots of sound. Engineered wood, I should say, not particulate. Yeah. It's it looks similar, but it's really a different thing. Oriented strand board is different than particle board. Who knew, right? Insulated behind with rock wool and a radiant barrier. It's for sound isolation, but also climate management. Yes. Which is important, especially if you're in an upstairs room, upstairs area. Which with the window units in the upstairs now, I might move the hobby space. I might move the pocket dimension upstairs. Because now I don't have to worry about heat destroying paints and the like. Although I don't know. It's something to think about, you know. Need insulation. It's built into a roof, but with all the work I've done on the walls, it stays surprisingly cool on hot days. Albeit hot days here are 27 Celsius maximum, and that's rare. Yeah, yeah. Here we get like a month and a half, sometimes 3 months worth of 89, 90, 95 degree Fahrenheit weather. So it can be a little oppressive. Which when I was setting up my place, I decided, do I want to have my hobby stuff upstairs? Because there's the game room upstairs with all the rule books and the like, or do I want to, it'd be nice to have everything all in the same place, but at the same time, downstairs was cooler because I had central air. So that's something I'm going to have to save up for. So I need to save up, pay off the old credit cards, save up, well, credit card, I only have one. I refuse to have more. Pay that off, save up for a new car, because this one's getting long in the tooth. Back in October this past October, I had a tie rod break and my wheel went rolling down the road on me. Fortunately, I was only doing about 2 miles an hour. And I was nearby. I happened to be about 3 blocks away from the mechanic I usually go to, so tow bill was still $75 to go 3 blocks. But if I hadn't done what I did in the order that I was doing it, I might have been down the road at highway speeds, 70 miles an hour, that is to say, when that wheel went off, and it'd be a completely different discussion. So that was $600 last October I didn't want to spend. But anyhow, so pay off credit card. That's the goal for the next year. Save up enough for a new car, either by the middle of the year. I say new car. What I mean is new to me. I don't like the new cars. Too many electronics, too many gizmos, too many things to go wrong. So a decent used car. Problem is, I need to do it so that I can finance the whole thing myself, or buy it outright, really. Because anything that's worth having is 10 years old, and banks don't like to finance vehicles that are 10 or more years old. So that is that. Which is, my current vehicle is 22 years old, 23 years old. Surprisingly low mileage for it. Of course, I don't drive every day, but that vehicle has given me problems. I probably could have bought a new car for the money that I've had to spend just to keep the doggone thing on the road. So these are Raptors, Chaos Raptors, for my Iron Warriors army. Let's see. Belgian, heck no, you can keep your son. Yeah, right? Air intake system makes a big difference too. It's taking air in from the north side. The south side is the one I spent more time putting up extra radiant resistance and convection conduction. You get the idea. Yeah, TLDR, big job. Absolutely. Hate electric cars myself. Too much of a petrol head. Yeah, yeah. Electric cars, they sound nice, but if the charging didn't take overnight to get any decent charge on them, how are you going to go the distances you need to go and then stop and charge up for 3 hours after driving, however far you need to drive. Let's say the car's range is, say, 350 miles, which is about comparable with a gas guzzler, a gasoline car. So let's say you go 250 miles, you got another 100 miles left just for emergency, but you have to stop for how long to get those batteries to charge again so you can go get on your way? So are you going to go 200 miles and stop for the night? Why? That doesn't seem right. Yeah, the charging time is really just too much to really, aside from unless you're just running around town, EVs are not really they're really not the cure to all that ails us. And where does that electricity come from too? We were talking about entropy a little while back. Well, what's the first law of thermodynamics? Was it the first or second law of thermodynamics that says basically, you can't get more out of a system than you put into a system? So you actually lose energy in the means of transmission through electricity. And what are you using to make your electricity? Coal, fuel oil, natural gas. There aren't enough nuclear plants to really be viable. Quite honestly, nuclear is the way to go, but people were so gun shy about it because of movies like the China Syndrome and the issues that there were at 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl and Fukushima. There's just a lot of skittishness when it comes to nuclear power, that quite honestly a lot of those issues are no longer the issues that they once were. And I'll bet let's put the tinfoil hat on for just a minute. I would bet that if you look into some of those nuclear protest groups from the 80s, when they were actually beginning to make reactors that were much more safe, and they were getting it all figured out, I'll bet that somewhere there's oil money backing a lot of those protests, those anti-nuclear protest groups. Now, anti-nuclear in the 80s could have meant everything from nuclear weapons to nuclear plants, but it didn't really matter, So, let's see. Hate electric cars. DD says, doesn't help if you get in a wreck. You need to buy a new car. Yes. Yeah. You're definitely going to need to get a new car if you get in a wreck. Absolutely. Absolutely. The 3 laws of thermodynamics: you can't win, you can't break even, you can't even quit the game. Right? Exactly. Exactly, Quantum. So we're just going to work on these Raptors here. Give a little twist to the bodies to... I don't think I'm really too fond of this Mr. Whatever. Mr. Cement for plastic models. It was $3.99 at Hobby Lobby, which that should tell you something. That's cheaper than Tamiya. But Tamiya I had a hard time finding. They didn't have it at the Hobby Lobby at the time I went. But I really do like Tamiya extra thin. So this is the Hobbytown USA price. So $5.50 or $3.99. Mr. Plastic is or Mr. Cement is 1.35 fluid ounces, and I don't know if it says what the Tamiya, how much is in the Tamiya. It looks like it's a little bit less than the Tamiya. Let's see. So yeah, here was a thing. So Hobby Lobby used to sell the Tamiya cement. Yeah, it doesn't say how much is in there. But evidently you can get the net 40 milliliters. 40 milliliters. Well, how many milliliters is 1.35 ounces? Maybe a little bit more. Yeah. Anyway, this is the stuff right here, and I think they're saying, a lot of people are saying that this is similar in chemical composition to the Tamiya airbrush cleaner, which I saw a big bottle of that, and it was like $8 for, like, you know, so a jar this size around, about that tall, full of that stuff. And this is a bottle of sprue glue that I made. So, but yeah, next time I go over to Hobbytown, I think I'll pick it up and try it. But this flashes off so quick, you gotta put a little bit extra on the surfaces, and it runs off so bad. I don't know that I care for it very much. Whereas the Tamiya tends to seem to stay in place. Let's see. Stuck some, let's see, heard Mr. Cement S is excellent, but different formulations are good for different things. Yeah, so I've got Mr. Cement Deluxe here as well. And this is Mr. Cement, I don't know, the price tag is covering it. So yeah, this is Mr. Cement S. Now that's funny because it's priced at $5.99, but the price tag on it actually said $3.99. So maybe they get a bulk deal. Plus, if you go to Hobby Lobby, sometimes they'll have 40%, 50% off. Some people don't like Hobby Lobby for whatever political reasons. Life's too short, you know. I don't like them. The only thing I don't like about them is they're closed on Sunday. Which I understand why they're closed on Sunday, but, you know. Reasons. Let's see. Heard those are similar, DD says. Yes. Butyl acetate. Let's see. Mr. Cement S is the best. Yep. Yeah, let's see. So we've got a great little chat about glue here. How many chats, how many discussions have I had about glue over the last month? Let's see. DD says Mr. Cement sucks. I'm not impressed by it right now, but Heretic Scott says that he heard Mr. Cement S is excellent, but for different formulations are good for different things. This is true. That's why Tamiya has different things here. So this is a Tamiya, very small jar, but it's also very gloopy. So it's very goopy. I don't like it. And it smells different. I think it's their less toxic application. This is what's left of a jar of 10X7R. You can't even get it anymore. As you can see, this has never been opened. I've never actually used it, but there is not much left in it. It's only up to about right here. So it's been flashing off over the years. Ambroid ProWell. This is the bee's knees right here. You can even use it on lucite or plexiglass. I've not had the opportunity to use it on plexiglass. Plastruc Bondine. So this is the white label styrene ABS plastic solvent cement, which is good because the black bases on GW, this is actually an ABS heavy plastic, whereas this is more vinyl side, polystyrene. So that sticks together really well, but I just don't like the height of that bottle. And then this is Plastruc Plastic Well, which is general purpose plastic solvent glue. It's just slightly weaker than the white label. IMHO. Let's see. So, oh look, I do have an extra bottle of Tamiya extra thin. This is extra thin, as opposed. This is just a different. Quick setting extra thin. So it probably flashes off a little faster. Look at that, $4.89. A little cheaper than the regular extra thin. So I've got all the glues here. Let's see. Different formulations are good for different things. Stuck some sprue piece in, or to Mr. Cement, left it overnight, still hadn't melted. Yeah. Mr. Cement S is the best, Quantum says. Butyl acetate should be the active ingredient. I've heard those are similar. Generally, methyl ethyl ketone based plastic cement is less aggressive than acetone ethyl acetate. Yes, methyl ethyl ketone mixed with the acetone is actually seems pretty strong to me. To me, extra thin and their airbrush cleaner is the exact same formula with a difference of less than 1% difference in ratio period, so they can market as a different product. Right. Mr. Cement Deluxe is the thicker cement. It appears to have clear plastic filler. It is fairly good for gap filling and won't run. Okay. Deluxe is the thicker cement. That's good to know. That's kind of like the orange Tamiya. It's considerably thicker. So, okay. Well, this seems to be working okay. It just flashes off so quick. It doesn't sit. This tends to sit a little bit on the spot and kind of work a little bit harder, it seems. Like I said, this is really my first, not tonight. I've been putting these guys together with it, so I've been using it. But I have to be a little more patient with the Mr. Cement, it seems like, if that makes sense. Quantum, it just feels like I've got to slow down by a couple of beats when using this. That's my only real gripe. So that's my thought on the matter. Do you know? All right, we are going to work on these dudes. So we'll get some more fronts and backs. Let's see, I've got four sets of legs to stick together here. Mr. Cement S has a slightly longer setting time than Tamiya. Good to know. Yeah, it feels like it does. It feels like it does, Quantum. Seems like it to me. And seems like I've got to put a little bit more on than I would of the Tamiya. But, you know, again, remember, your mileage may be different. It could be atmospherics, you know. There's so many things that can have different, can contribute to different experiences for people even with the same products. So, like this flashes off a lot faster than the Tamiya does, it seems. So like the Tamiya, I could sit that down, and it would set, whereas I come back to this and it's already, the plastic has already taken on that dull color, which says that the cement has flashed off. But it could just be it could be a different batch too, you know. But we'll get there. We'll figure it all out here. So it feels like I have to put quite a bit in there to get it to sit long enough. Yeah, see, it doesn't feel like it's really hot enough. And when I say hot enough, what I mean is like aggressive. Which follows on with what DD was saying about putting a chunk of sprue in it, and it was still untouched the next day. So it's a different product for me. It's you know, it's just learning the tool. Everything has its advantages. For this, the advantage is that it was readily available. It's what they had in stock. Because I was at Hobby Town and I did not see any Tamiya extra thin. So I had to move on down the road, as they say, as the kids say these days, and go to the Hobby Lobby. Tamiya is especially good because it is one of the few that also contains a small amount of cyclohexane. By itself, it actually makes for a very strong adhesive, but also wicks very slowly alone. Yeah, cement in your hand is better than none. Yes, yeah, Quantum Reveries, exactly. But yeah, that explains a lot. Heretic Scott, the cyclohexane, the strong adhesive, but wicks very slowly. So this seems to actually wick pretty quickly, but it also doesn't seem to set very quickly, as it is. Let's see. Now I ordered extra legs and extra torsos because they always wind up with extra arms on these kits, you know. So I went to eBay and ordered extra arms, or sorry, not extra arms, extra torsos and extra legs so I could use all the parts that I have off of this kit. Because I'm just wacky that way. Because I didn't want to buy whole new kits to get a full-size squad of 10 or 12 or whatever. You know. So. But I'm trying to get my Iron Warriors all built up so that I can prime them, because with the nice weather we've been having, it is prime time. So prime time, as they say. Prime time for priming. And because they're Iron Warriors, just a shot of pewter colored spray paint or lead belcher or whatever you have, chainmail color, whatever they call you the color that you're using for the darker metallic. Or you could just go with silver. Go with a silver and then throw a dark black wash over it and dirty it down. And speaking of dirty down, I happened to get dirty down rust and dirty down snot. So snot was this year's new product from Dirty Down. So I got a jar of that, and I got a jar of rust. Now this is their darker rust, but they also have a yellow rust. So I'd like to use the yellow rust, because here's what people don't really know. Not right off. It takes a little bit of thinking, a little bit of observation, a little study, a little learning. Is that younger rust, newer rust, tends to be brighter in color, so your yellows and your oranges. And your dark rust, your darker browns, all the way to your black brown, or brown black, those brown colors of rust, that tends to be your older rust. So rust takes on different colors considering the age. And of course there's also material to consider as well. You know, depending on what the material has in it, the mix of iron and other additives, whatever the so it's 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock and all is swell. Now I bought a couple of those. Let me see if I can find those other torsos and legs for these raptors. Here they are. Right here. Duh. Torsos and legs right there. So I stuck them all in that bag. Is that the only bag there was of it? Yes. That's the only bag there was of it. Alright, so we'll go ahead and snip these other two torsos off the frame. I'm using Iron Warriors because I'm not really a big fan of 40K per se and some of the tropes. I don't like the way it plays, generally speaking, which is why I'm coming up with a way to play with my own toys my own way, right? I thought about just combining 3rd through 5th edition 40K, but that seemed a little bit too much like what, say, OPR was doing. So I'm cribbing some things from other more imaginative rule sets, which I think represent the differences between troops a little bit better. So in my lore, I'm not really trying to copy. I don't really want to copy Workshop's lore, but in my lore, the Chaos guys, which I'm using Iron Warriors for mine, they're just going to be the default. Of course, they wouldn't be Iron Warriors. They're just renegades. They don't agree with the way that the Solarian hegemony does things. Like, say, biological experiments are verboten. But the renegades like to experiment on people. That's why you get things like the forge fiends are biological experiments. Anyway, it's just a way to allow people to play with their own toys in a different way. Sort of like what OPR is doing. But I wanted to get away from the D6. Smooth that out. We'll use the melting properties of the cement to smooth out where I accidentally got some fingerprintage going on there. But yeah, just another way to play with the toys that you got. And, you know, it's unfortunate that you have to write fluff to get people interested in your game. I've had people say, well, I don't want to play your game if you don't write fluff. I'm like, well, if you play the game, if you play with the pieces, the toys that you already have, you already know the fluff. I don't need to write or try to scrape the serial numbers off the fluff to make it my own. But I think I'd like to go at it from a position of not dystopian. For crying out loud. So that cement tends to seem to want to flow in places where it shouldn't. So now I just got to smooth it up a little bit. Get those fingerprints off. Urgh, icky, awful. Cement in your hand is better than none. says Quantum. Yes. Although cement on your hand is irritating. Can be an irritant. So let's just see how well this flows. We'll just put those together and we'll do it the old school way. Instead of putting it on mating surfaces, we'll just let it flow. So we might not get around to painting anything tonight. Or maybe just building. Building so that we can paint later on, right? Get things primed up so we can have things to paint during the wintertime. Which is a good time to paint. Inside, not doing much. No chores. Outside. Alright. And yes, I'm using 25mm bases. Instead of the big ugly ones they send now with power armor pieces. Because I'm a renegade like that. Because I'm a renegade like that because my old pieces, I want my collection to look cohesive, you know? So why are these guys have 25mm bases, and these guys have 28s, and these guys have 32s. Well, because Workshop always wants to make money off of you somehow. So, phooey on that, right? Yar says, that's okay. Yeah, learned the hard way that exposure to MEK will turn your fingertip bright pink. Yeah, it's also a really good degreaser. But it tends to collect in your liver. And it can actually have side effects like lessened sense of smell. So I don't like to use these big bases unless I'm using the more modern figures, the larger figures, which to me that's a whole different another ball of wax, you know. These smaller ones, you know, these are from just before they went to the larger size figures. Even the Chaos got a size upgrade. So I'll have to glue on some piggies. Piggies. Pitties, little pitties. But all my Chaos guys that I already built all had 25s. So personally, I like to have everything looking uniform in my collection, and since I don't necessarily play in any official Games Workshop tournaments, and the rule was always considered that you use the base that came with the figure. Well, I guess, sure, whatever. But yeah, MEK is not good stuff to get on your skin. So is that all the legs out of this bag? I believe that is all the legs out of this bag. So we'll just make ourselves a little assembly line here, sticking aces to bases here. Now I suppose I could probably just put the glue on the one side, but it's always been my conceit, and this is something that I learned from doing scale modeling back in the day as a child. I think my very first scale model was a snap together. I know it was a snap together. It was a van. It was a red van by Monogram. And I must have been, if I was any older than, it would have been before I went to school, so I had to have been 5. Must have been about 5. But as you get older and your tastes become refined, you start looking for more and more challenging model kits, and you start learning little things. We had some friends up in Boston we visited. I think I was in 5th grade. My grandparents on my mom's side, my mom's parents, lived in Maine until they died. And so we'd go and visit every now and then. We'd drive from Kentucky. Oh, I don't know, between every 3 and 5 years or so, it seemed like. Just because it's a long drive, and then we had relatives and friends along the way too that we'd stop in and see. So it was always a kind of a sojourn, you know. Pilgrimage, maybe. Anyhow, we stopped and saw some friends in Boston, or the greater Boston area. My aunt actually used to write for the Boston Globe, so we'd stop in and see her and stay at her place for a little while. That was my mom's sister. So, but we visited some friends, and they had, I don't know that it was Time Life, but it was some sort of big encyclopedic sort of collection of hobby books, like how to do hobby. All right, kind of like the Dave Taylor miniatures books, the art books, but more instructable than that. In fact, well, I won't say that they're any less instructable, because like Tommy Soul's book is very instructive. Kind of takes you back to basics. Man, it's a great book. Using a little sprue goo to get to fill in around here where this doesn't quite want to sit. I don't know if I've got something underneath this or what. A little piece of plastic might have folded in. That is the one thing about sprue goo. It kind of gets a little hairy using it. Let's see, I cannot remember the first kit I assembled. I think it was one of the Aurora Wolfman kits. Oh yeah, those were neat kits. They always seem like they shouldn't go together, and it's funny, those kits always look to me like they shouldn't go together so nicely, but they always did. Alright, DD. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for hanging out tonight, man. We will talk at you later. I'll check on those dates to make sure that Bourbon Barrel Bash can be done. And I appreciate your offer of hospitality too. So. Alright, so that kind of fills in that gap pretty nicely. I just can't stand having gaps. So I think what happened is one of these little sprue boogers, for lack of a better term, got folded back underneath there and was pushing up on that, so I wasn't getting a really good connection. There it goes again. Look at that. I think I'm not a fan of that. Yeah, so I doused that pretty good, and then it you can see it went flat instead of shiny, so that meant that it was flashing off and leaving plastic behind. Anyhow, that's how my summer went. I think it was not as great as it could have been. Having to spend a lot of money getting some stopgap measures to get some air conditioning going again, that was money I didn't want to spend. Having a less than stellar time at Gen Con, after also being late because of doggone migraine. Set me 2 days behind, really. And then just the policies did not engender a good time. I had a good time, don't get me wrong, but I didn't have a good time. As good a time as I could have. Though I got to make some good friends, some new friends, I should say. We got to make some new friends, and I don't know if they're good friends, but they're new friends. Also, I got to sell a boat to Stefan Porkanoy. So that was pretty cool. He stopped by the booth looking for a boat for his RPG adventures, and we just happened to have a boat for people's RPG adventures. So that was kind of neat. Followed him for years. It's kind of funny. I remember when his products first came out. I remember seeing them at the Complete Strategist. He was developing his stuff while I was working and living there. Practically, I won't say practically down the street. I mean, in Kentucky terms, it was practically down the street. In New York terms, not so much. I think he was back in the further back part of Brooklyn. I was in the further front part of Brooklyn. So, I'm not sure where he manufactured those first rounds of, what's it, dungeon tiles? Not really dungeon tiles, whatever they call them. Dwarven Forge. Yeah. I remember seeing those and thinking, you know what, I can make just as good out of foam core and cardboard and blue foam. Of course, at the time, I didn't have the space to do anything about it, and I didn't have the time to really do anything about it. City living, as it is. It was a ship. It was a small ship. But it was 28 millimeter scale ship. So, because we do sell boats. That's a good one. Good one, Miar. You're trying to catch me up on. Is it a boat or is it a ship? Generally, you consider a boat goes on a ship. Nice one. You're going to catch me, weren't you? But it was kind of funny because I knew about him for years with his products, and then I finally got to meet him in person, and I got to sell him one of our products. Haha. It's a $48 boat. With tax, it was $52. I think he thought it was just going to be some cheap 3D printed thing. It was worth every penny of it, quite honestly. The look on his face was a little... I'm like... I didn't even feel bad because I'm like, Stefan. I'm like, Stefan. I didn't say it, but in my head I was thinking, Stefan, dude, I've seen your house. I've seen your house. I know what you get for your toys. You have people working for you. I think you can spend $52. I don't think it's going to hurt you that much in the wallet. He had just been at the Odyssey Osborne Festival. That last one. Those were not cheap tickets. Actually, I think Joe Manganiello might have treated them on that one. But still, that's a big trip. That's a big trip rolling around Europe. That rarefied air you get into when you're rolling with the high rollers in the game, the high rollers in the gaming industry. Not being name dropped or anything by any means. That's not why I'm telling the story. I'm just telling that was a thrill for me, because it was like one of the people that's really made. One of the people that's really, here's why I think it's notable, is one of the people that are in the hobby that make a product that is, while it is expensive, people buy it, people like it, people want it. He came into our booth looking for something, and I got the kill shot, man. I sold him the boat. I sold the day I sold Stefan Porkanoy a boat. Actually, it was a ship, but it's a small ship. But most people don't know the difference between a boat and a ship there. We are. So, let's see. Quantum says he's got some of the Dwarven Forge Cavern set from their second Kickstarter, one medium set, and a little imagination. Turned out to be exactly enough for me. Yeah. A lot of times you don't really need too much of it, because you're only exploring one or two rooms at a time. I mean, you can really do a lot with a little. Couple of boxes of that stuff, and you're pretty well good to go. I always think it's funny when I see people have these big layouts that they've got to cover up with sheets to keep their players from just looking over it and seeing everything that's coming up next. Whereas if you just build it as you go, that's why I kind of like the way Scotty McFarlane, DM Scotty, had his cardboard tiles, his cardboard scenery tiles set up. You could just make what you needed for the next session, next play session. They're easy to store. They're inexpensive. I mean, the only thing you're really out is time, because you're making it out of just basic old corrugated cardboard, and they can look just as nice as you need them to look, depending on how much time you want to put into it. But a little spray paint, a little dry brush gray, you know. Oh. You can do a lot of things with them. A lot of things with trash. A lot, one man's garbage. No, one man's trash is another man's terrain. But you don't have to spend top dollar to have a nice looking table. But if you do splurge and get something nice like that, it's one of those things that isn't necessarily, if you don't break the bank and don't go crazy with it, use what you need, get what you need, get a few things. One or two things is all that's necessary, you know. Let's see. Wife said toenail art. Sure. Funny thing is, I got a lot more use out of the caverns than all the D&D paper dungeon tiles I wasted money on. Much more versatile, and I can use them as photography backdrops too. Yeah, that is the nice thing about them, is you can use all that stuff for photography. And because it's all finished, it looks finished, and it's a little bit more of a compliment to your finished artwork of your miniatures, whereas sometimes just a kind of homemade, handmade thing might not give you the result that you want. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with spending money on on a few things like that, a little bit of money, if you've got it. I mean, you can't take it with you, right? And if you leave it to your kids, what are they going to do? They're just going to spend it on Pokemon cards. Kidding. Actually, I'm not a big card game player, but I am kind of interested in seeing this new Gundam card game. Hey Cyrus, how's it going? If you build it, they will play. Yes, that's right. I am building. So you got to build it before you can paint it, and you got to paint it before you can play it. So always remember to build, paint, play. Apologies to Dave and Jake. Which usually on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock on YouTube, I'm watching Build, Paint, Play. But because they're on a break tonight, Dave is traveling. So there is no Build, Paint, Play show tonight. So I figured I'd step into the hobby arena and pick up where my friends leave off. But I have been on break for the last couple of months. Mostly because, well, lots of reasons there, Cyrus. Cyrus Wright is over on Rumble, by the way. Shout out to my Rumble Ramblers here. So, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Follow, share, and subscribe. If you're on YouTube and Rumble, share. Now, here's a funny thing. So, to feed the algorithm, if you just copy the link in the share, you don't have to put that link out there anywhere. I mean, where are you going to put it? Who do you know that really wants to see what I'm doing? But if you copy that link, it registers in the algorithm that you've shared the video. So if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble and you hit that share and just copy that link, even if you delete that link, it considers that you got it. So don't forget to give us a thumbs up, a like, or, if you don't like, maybe a thumbs down. That's okay too. Engagement is engagement, right? Supposedly. I don't know. I don't really know what a downvote gets you. But, yeah. Now, I wonder how many of these sets of legs I've got turned around the wrong way on these discs. Looks like I've got everything just right. So, that'll be good. But, yeah, summertime's been a little rough. One thing or another. But, yeah, getting things built up, ready for prime time. The priming season is upon us. Yeah. Let's see. Well, I have a coworker whose kid is just getting into D&D and painting minis and joining a club at high school. He's going all in, isn't he? So I'm thinking of donating a bunch of old RPG materials to help him out, including the paper dungeon tiles. Well, that'd be very generous of you, Quandom. Very generous indeed. So let's go ahead and get that nub worked off of there. And get rid of some of that mold line on those joints. I'll worry about a lot of this other stuff, off-cut point there. Worry about that later. I think I'll try to get these torsos on here and worry about mold lines after I put the torsos on as well. Because then I still don't have anything really in the way. So let's go ahead and stick these torsos on, these legs here. Mr. Cement S. I don't know that I'm super thrilled with it. I really do like the Tamiya super thin better. But it could just be a matter of what I'm used to versus something that I got. Of course, I've got a lot of other I've got a lot of other glues on my desk as well, so did I really need to buy the Mr. Cement? It was a good price. It was $4 at the Hobby Lobby. Alright, so we'll put these over here. And we'll have legs and torsos. Legs and torsos. Legs, torsos, knees and toes. Knees and toes. Legs and torsos, how it goes, how it goes. Legs, torsos. Nose and toes. Legs, torsos, nose and toes. Nose and toes. Okay. Nobody wants to hear that, right? Nobody wants to hear me sing. I prefer the Mr. Cement S over the Tamiya, but that's just preference. Both are better than a tube of tester cement. Yes, very true. You know, I found an old tube of that here in my stuff, and it still is in good shape. But man, that stuff was the crustiest. But it's all we had back in the day. I mean, it was all there was. Most of us got our models at the department store. And so everything that we got was, I mean, Testors was the department store brand. It was also the hobby store brand. Although, I will say, Poly S and Pactra paints were also, they were water-based acrylic, which when I found those, that was really cool. But being a poor kid, I could only get a few at a time, and we didn't really go to the city very often to get hobby supplies for me by any means. So I always had to just contend with Mom yelling at me, "Are you using that glue? Are you using those paints? Those are making me sick. Put them away." Rawr. Yep. So The smell was a thing. Testors paints. But I did thin my Testors paints. I used mineral spirits, or I don't know if it was mineral spirits, but whatever it was, their Testors thinner was for their enamels. So I had a big jar of that. That was the one thing that I did know about painting, which, looking at some of my early attempts at painting miniatures, they're really not that bad, because I did know enough to thin my paints. And I didn't have access to acrylic paints either, so that's probably why. First of all, I knew that the metal figures needed to be primed, because my dad had told me about when he was younger. When he was 16 or 17, he went out to one of his cousin's place in, maybe it was on a hunting trip. We had a cousin that had a junkyard that had like every Jeep known to man in it. But I think it was on a hunting trip when he and Granddad went out to Colorado. They found a Willys Jeep. And so Dad, they bought that Willys Jeep, and Dad spent the rest of the summer overhauling it. And for that, and back in the day, you could get timing belts for 15 cents, and I mean, getting the parts that you needed to rebuild a Jeep was not prohibitive for a 16-year-old, 17-year-old young man. And he worked at a lumber yard, so he was making decent scratch for whatever it was back in the day for that kind of work. So, let's see. Was that old tube still liquid? Was it the kind that smelled like oranges? No, it was not the blue one. See, there were two tubes, two different tubes, Quantum. One was a blue tube, and that was the one that smelled like oranges. It was the quote-unquote non-toxic one, which was the solvent in that the active solvent in that is called limonene. It's literally made out of lemons. And so while it's caustic, and it will work, it doesn't melt the plastic very well, and it just kind of crusts over. But the orange one is the one that you always got in trouble for using. The orangish red color tube. Yeah, that was the one that always got me in trouble. But yes, it was an orange tube. It was an orangish red tube, and it was still liquid. It was still viable. Quantum. I pulled out some of my Testors enamels recently and tried painting a mini with them. I lasted no more than 30 minutes before the smell got to me. Yeah. I wonder if when we were kids, that smell had less of an effect, Alright, so I have 5 sets of legs left. 6 sets of legs left. 6 sets of legs and 10 torsos. So that means that I will need to buy 4 more sets of legs of raptors. Or trade the 4 remaining torsos on a Facebook trade site. Don't know which. Don't know how. So I might not get any painting done tonight, but that's okay. I'm making progress on projects. Progress on projects. Gamers on games. So let's see. We'll see how that sets up. Like I said, if I put the torsos on, get them glued together, and if they're stable and sturdy enough, I can go back around and clean off the mold lines at my leisure. I hope. Just let the capillary action. Capillary. Yo, dog, we heard you like capillary action, so we capillaried your capillaries while you capillary your capillary action. Pimp My Ride, 40K edition. So I've got about another hour to go here, supposedly. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? Isn't that funny? Back in the 80s, kids were left to their own devices often. And it was really something that kind of came out of the Atlanta child murders. That's a pleasant subject to talk about, right? It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? And I wonder if the current generation, being known as, tends to be a little helicopter parenty sometimes, I think, is kind of a pushback from being grown up where we were kind of left to our own devices. You know, as Gen X, feral children. I don't know. Thoughts. I don't really know where I'm going with that, but just a thought that crossed my mind. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? One little jump trooper. 2 little jump troopers. We'll count them up. You never count your troopers when you're painting at the station. There'll be time enough to count them when the building's done. On the other hand, I could put them on maybe, I've got extra just standing legs. I could make it look like somebody just landed. Ooh, I may not have to. So I was thinking, I'm going to have 4 torsos left over from these raptors. Maybe I'll have to buy 4 more legs. Or just trade off the raptor torsos. I don't know. You maybe could do that. It's hard to say. Some people say you could trade the raptor torsos. But, jeez. I've always liked to do impersonations of people. So, what am I getting at? So, I could use just regular legs and add the claw feet to them. That'd be a way to go. Instead of buying more, use what I've already got in the collection. See if I've got some spare legs around, which I probably do. Hey, Miar, you must dye my hair orange now. Butterscotch with orange face, right? Ever since I was a kid, I would always try to do different people. When I was a kid, Reagan was in office, so, Will, it was all about the ray guns and the Star Wars. Will, you're not gonna do it? No. And then, well, not gonna do it. That was George Bush. Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be putting it this time. No, new taxes. Saddam, we're coming for you. Didn't follow through there. Amazing. George W. Bush, director of the CIA at one time. His son eventually has to go and clean up his mess with Obama. Osama. Obama. Now, I can't do him very well. I can't do that one. Clinton, I can get close. And then there's Bush Jr. There's Bush Jr., yeah. So he can be done. They're all so easy to make fun of. They're all so wildly inconsistent personalities. And what a mess. Seems like every time you get one in, it makes it worse. Even when they try to make something better for somebody, they make things worse for somebody else, you know? Alright, we're just cleaning off the little nubs. The little nubs on these torsos, on these legs here, on these hips. The pelvis, actually. But wouldn't that actually be the pelvic region? Yes, it would actually be the pelvic region. So if you had more than one pelvis, would it be called pelvi? Oh, you know what would be really fun? Oh, it would be like to put two of those together in some fashion and make like a centaur marine. Oh, that'd be cool. Now, I haven't really been consciously trying to make these all look different as I go along. I've just kind of been sticking things together randomly. I don't know if it's going to be as random as I like, or how many of these are actually going to look the same with the same legs and the same torsos stuck together. Give it a little twist. We'll call him Oliver. Give him a little twist here. Alright. Cool, cool, cool. Give that guy a little twist as well. Although I don't know if that eyeball motif, it might be alright. Let's see. It's a testament to how many cartoons that I watched as a child that I can only do cartoon impersonations. Yeah. Well, one of my favorite comedians was Rich Little, and Rich Little always did impersonations of people in the news, you know. And then of course we all grew up on Robin Williams, our generation. So he would always do little impersonations as well. Robin Williams is where I got my Jack Nicholson from. Yeah, Jack Nicholson. I'm Jack Nicholson. Nice to meet ya. I'm Jack Nicholson. I was in Batman. I was the Joker. One of my favorite roles ever. Which it was. He actually says so. You know, it's funny. A lot of actors try to be too cool and play down some of those more fantastic roles that they get. But Jack Nicholson actually had a lot of really a lot of really great things to say about how much he enjoyed playing the Joker in Tim Burton's movie. Did I miscount? Oh, no, I did not miscount. There's 4. There's 4. So I need 2. There's 1. I always enjoy it, you know. Like, so for instance, Harrison Ford, right? He likes to play it. He's too cool for school, you know. He doesn't like talking about Star Wars, which if it weren't for Star Wars, that man would not have had much of a career as an actor. It's kind of weird that he's so painfully shy as an actor. Doesn't like talking about his work. Which it makes sense. I mean, he's a carpenter. So maybe, I mean, I'd say he probably enjoys that more than he enjoys the acting work, but the acting work is what pays for his carpentry projects. But, you know, the only way they got to bring him back for the last Star Wars movie he was in was they promised he could kill off Han Solo, which he wanted to do that back in Return of the Jedi. But I think Return of the Jedi benefited from having a happy ending. It needed that, so it needed Han Solo to survive and wind up with Princess Leia. We all wanted him to do that. We were all rooting for him anyway. You know. But I think he likes talk, you know, not likes talking, but he's pretty free about talking about, you know, Indiana Jones, but I mean, he got paid more money for it, and he was the center of the spotlight, so I mean, that was his character, so to speak. He didn't have to share, he wasn't part of an ensemble cast. Really. Didn't share billing, so who knows what his psychology is, other than being a very private person, which is understandable. Keep your private life private, right? Keep work and your private life private. But hey kid, it's not that kind of a movie. You know. He's got a good idea about the movies that he's in. Did a lot of good work back in the 90s as Jack Ryan. And see, he was in Sabrina. very much our generation's Humphrey Bogart type. Whereas if you said that to him, he'd probably say nonsense. He probably wouldn't use the word nonsense. He'd probably use something a little stronger. And he'd say nonsense. I want to be this generation's Harrison Ford, which makes a lot of sense, right? Why be someone you're not? Let's see. Okay, have to drop. Take care, Miar, and everybody. Yeah, take care, Quantum. Great to see you. Thanks for being in the chat. Thanks for stopping in on the first chat back. First stream back from the summertime. Getting ready for prime time. We're building so we can paint, and then we can play. Yeah, I don't think the Mr. Cement is quite as aggressive as the Tamiya. Extra thin. Unfortunately. But better the cement that you have than cement that you want. Better what you have than what you want. So if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, please go ahead and like and share. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. That'd be just fine. If you are watching on Twitch, this is September, so you're getting if you subscribe, you're getting a discount, and you're helping the channel grow. I'm definitely needing some fundage to get better equipment. I'm going slow, but I could use a hand. So that's great. If you're already subscribed, thank you very much. I know Myar has been subscribed for quite a bit. Faithful fellow him. Good old Myar. Okay. So that leaves me with, I miscounted, so I got 3 raptor torsos left over. So that's pretty cool. So maybe I'll use some regular legs. Regular legs, like regular show. Total accident. Yes. Total accident. So that gives me one little raptor, two little raptors, 3 little raptors, 4 little raptors, 5 little raptors, 6 little raptors, 7 little raptors, 8 little raptors, 9 little raptors, 10 little raptors, 11 little raptors, 12 little raptors, 13 little raptors, 14 little raptors, 15 little raptors, 16 little raptors, 17 little raptors, 17 little raptors, They call me the Count because I love to count. So 17 raptors. That's pretty cool. Pretty nifty. So that means that if I get 3 more legs, I'll have a full 20. So that's 2 squads of 10. So that's pretty neat. That is cool. All right. So I'm going to put these 3 torsos in this bag, and I'll search for some legs later on. 3 torsos with 3 bases, 3 old school sets of legs, or I might just order 3 sets of raptor legs. I don't know. All right. What's next here? We got 40 minutes left. So let's see. We built some more jump packs. Yeah, we can go. We can build some more jump packs. So currently I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 built jump packs. I've got more parts for jump packs in my bins. My bins of bins and bobs and things. I'm going to use blue stuff and copy some legs for some scouts. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, when you have almost enough to do half of a figure, it's really frustrating. So, you know, what are you going to do at that point? Spend $60 to get a whole nother box? Or are you just going to do a little hobby cheat? Ouch. Hello, Pumpkin. How are you doing, buddy? You know, he's been doing a lot better, not climbing up on the desk. He's actually, well, hello. You know, I was just bragging about you. Yep, I was just bragging about you. Because you've been so good for the last week or so, last couple of weeks. You just come in here, crawl underneath the shelves, and then you kind of crawl down underneath the desk, and you take a nap, and now you're going to be obstreperous. You know there's people out there watching. You like the limelight, don't you? You think you need something else, and everybody needs to see you. Everybody needs to look upon your magnificence, right? Is that what you think? Doo-doo. Let's not get cat hair all over the thing. Even though you get cat hair all over the thing. Oh, I need to take a break, folks. I just need to stretch out a little bit, stand up. I've been sitting here for 3 hours. I can't really. That's a little bit rough. Hard on old body. So let's go ahead and just take a stretch break here. And I'll be back in 5. All right, and we are back. Back. All right. We are back. Back. Oh, all right. So, stick these guys together. Again, I think I'll worry about mold lines after I stick them together because there's nothing that's in a position that's really difficult to get to. So, they are a little tight fitting. So just like putting PVC pipe together. I'm going to work on these jump packs next there, Miar. So, just going to work on these jump packs. And I'm going to treat it like PVC because they are a little bit snug and they don't really want to fit together super great. So the trick to PVC piping is to put the glue on both sides so it softens everything up. So that everything will flex a little bit. It'll slide past and it will mold itself as it goes in because you are literally welding with chemicals. So these have pokey bits on them, which is very uncomfortable to hold together. But if I don't, they want to squish apart, slide back apart. So well, Miara, I'm glad you had a good time checking out Sail Power the other day. Sounded like, from what you said, you really enjoyed it. The role-playing aspect, I think, is really neat because you get to make a lot of decisions. It's not just lining up ships and shooting cannons at each other. That whole exploration mechanic I think, is probably one of the greatest parts of that game. There's a little bit of something for everybody in that game. You know, there's the role-playing aspect where you can negotiate with merchants, and if you run into Van Sant, or you're dealing with the governors of various fortresses, you know, it's all very much of the time period. You know, negotiating trade deals. I mean, there's a whole range of things to do in that game. You are the captain. You have all the power and all of the authority granted to you as a captain of the time period. Spotting. Yeah. You enjoyed the spotting part? Yeah, that's always fun because you never know. You know, you could see something or you could not see anything at all. It's sometimes somebody left the lens cap on. Bosun, hand me the glass. No, not that glass. This glass. Glug, 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 glug. So maybe not the spyglass, maybe the beverage glass. You roll a 1. Somebody left the lens cap on. One gentleman actually made jokes like that. It was fun. Yep. Yeah, that is kind of the running joke. If you don't see anything, well, hand me the glass. No, the other glass. Alright, that one's going together pretty easily. Since you've got your own ship, Miar, you would get some perks for owning your own ship coming to a game like that. Well, I should say at a convention game you'd get perks. I don't know how Laura's running her game, but definitely at a convention game you'd get perks. Kind of do that so that people, if they buy it at the booth, can take it down, and kind of gives them an extra impetus to buy a boat and take it down and play at the in the participation game, you know. Especially with the Captain Series, where you can get it out of the box and put together in less than a half hour. You know, in another hour you can have a pretty decent paint job on it. You know, just paint the sails and paint the masts and paint the hull. It's really not a lot to it. Now you've got one of the old Harbor Master series that you built, which are a little bit more of a craftsman style ordeal. So a little bit more for the discerning captain, you know. But you got that before we came out with the Captain series. Brian had always talked about doing something like that, where just the masts and the sails are all one piece. And he could never quite figure it out, but man, he got onto it a couple of years ago, and he kind of had that blue LED moment. It was like, aha! And if you want a really neat video, if you really want to learn something fascinating about the world we live in, look up how we got the blue LED. Fascinating. It's kind of an aha moment, you know, where things just kind of came together. Not aha like take on me, not that kind of aha. But yeah, look up, if you don't know the story already. And it's been a while since I watched it, so I can't remember it, but the blue light bulb, or the blue LED. Fascinating. Say it anyway. Let's see. Miar says, I'm actually having fun doing this magnetizing. It allows me to get creative. I ripped apart one of the guys I glued together, and I'm installing a couple magnets on the inside so I can put a cape on him. Cool. Yeah, it's definitely a cost-saving measure if you want to have several different loadouts. I'm probably going to magnetize when I get around to doing the building my Imperial Knights. I'm probably going to magnetize them. So that seems to be the trend these days. It's what all the kids are doing. So yeah, I will probably do much the same myself, Miar. As far as magnetizing the little guys individually, I don't think I'll be doing that. But a lot of people have, and a lot of people have said it's the way to go, especially if you're going between editions. You never know what they're going to nerf. You could invest heavily in one troop type, and then the next edition, they just go and ruin all your plans and ideas, and that's why I want to develop a rule set that is quick, easy to play, and you can add to it or take away from it as you wish. And even if you don't have a specific rule for something, you just play anyhow. Just play the game. Have fun. Play the game. Play the game, don't play the rules. Play the game, don't play the rules. For me, 40K has too many things that interrupt the play loop. So 3rd through 5th, the play loop was move, shoot, assault, right? Simple, straightforward. Very little in the way of gotcha rules or situational rules, things that demanded certain things of the game, demanded things of the players that were just... It was like, now I see kids playing the game and it's like, I got you. No, you didn't. Yeah, I did. I got this super special rule that makes me invulnerable to all your gunshots for this if I roll a 3 or more. I mean, just too much fiddly farting around, And they still haven't gone from I go, you go. So I do all the stuff. That was one of the drawbacks between 3rd through 5th, is you did have some things that would work really good on an alpha strike. So if you got first turn and you had optimized your army in a certain way, you could just leaf blower the guy from the table. One of the first games I ever played, I played against somebody. I had a bunch of scouts because so I didn't play 40K for a long time. I was more of a fantasy battle guy. So I had ordered some things from Workshop through the mail, and they had sent me some scouts as freebies, pack-ins. I don't know if they do that anymore at all. I have not seen any freebies from Workshop for a while in any packages. I did get a gift certificate from them last year for $15 because I hadn't ordered anything from them for a while, so they wanted to bring me back, and they did. It was just enough to kind of bring me back. So I got a couple of things. But what am I trying to say? What am I working on saying? But, oh yeah. Yeah, so So if they could get rid of the I go and do all my stuff and beat up on you so you don't have anything left on the next turn, if they could get away from that, their game would flow a lot easier. A lot of people like to use the bolt action, dice in a bag, to determine who goes. So you could do that with poker, with different colored poker chips, different colored dice, what have you. So that's one way to go with it. Or you could activate 2 units. Everybody can activate 2 units and see what happens there. So I activate 2, you activate 2, and we just go back and forth until we're done activating. You know, there's lots of different ways to do things. Which one works better for the play loop? Which one is more fair? I don't know. Are you gonna choose? Are you gonna do initiative each turn, each round? Hard to say. I mean, game design is one of those things that you can go either way with anything you're doing. So, how are you going to do it? That's, you know, and dice rolls. What does this die roll mean? What does that die roll mean? You know, why is that die roll there? So, with 40K, if you shoot something, why do I have to roll to wound? Basically, what it's doing is it's filtering down your results. It's filtering out results so you're actually not shooting as many times as you think you're shooting. So if you shoot with a bolter, and then you have to wound with the bolter, and then after you've wound, you roll the wound, and then they roll to see if their armor saves. Okay, you've just filtered out a lot of your shots anyhow. So why did you filter out all those shots? Why not roll to hit? Because if I'm in the 41st millennium, I better have, and I'm fighting against, 30-foot tall gribbly monsters that want to eat my face. Like, say, this bad mammer jammer right here, who is currently disarmed, as you can see. If I'm fighting against that, why do I want a weapon that if I roll to hit, why do I have to roll to wound? If I hit, it should wound. Now, if I roll to hit, then that should be an automatic armor save for somebody, right? Unless my weapon is so powerful that it negates their armor save. Right, so I should be able to shoot. They should be able to armor save. And there's no filtering out of results. Because that's all you're doing with rolling to wound. Roll to hit, roll to wound, armor save. So I hit 20 times. You should be forced to take 20 armor saves. In the far-flung future, weapons should be capable of doing what weapons do. Now, if you take cover saves, I could see that's a different thing. Again, it should just go from hit to save. It shouldn't go from hit to verify. You shouldn't have to verify your hits, right? And that's what a wound does. Is it verifies your hits. Okay, so you hit 20 times. Well, sorry, you only did 3 wounds. Why? Why are we doing that to people? Let's see. Miar says, I'm slowly learning the rules for Kill Team. I think the small skirmish games I like. It has a quicker move set. I wish it went back and forth. Yeah, it does have a quicker move set. The guys down here at the local store, the closest store where they're playing 40K, they're doing an escalation league for 40K, which I don't have a whole lot of things painted up for current 40K stuff. I would much rather play Shadow War Armageddon or Kill Team, but my Kill Team, I got the 2021 Kill Team, which is different from like the 2018 Kill Team, and I mostly got it for the Kriegers. as well. I mean, the Kriegers and the Orc, because I also play Orcs. I like the Orc Commandos, so we finally got some decent Orc Commandos. So that was fun. I've got them. I actually have most of the Kriegers put together somewhere. I think I held off putting the heads on because I didn't realize that they were so specific. You know, and that's something I don't like about some of the new models is they're so specific. They require certain parts to go together a certain way. And I would much rather have the autonomy that we used to have by putting things together how we wanted to put them together. A lot more customization. I guess I'm going to go outside and just yell at clouds now. Old man goes outside, yells at clouds. Get off my lawn! But no, I think 40K has been further developed, much to its detriment, by people that, I mean, obviously they want you to come back and keep buying year after year, so they're going to have that arms race of rules, and they're going to have rules that are going to be exploitative, and they're going to serve some armies better, and they're going to serve some units better than others. Like 4th edition was all about bikes, because bikes, if you turbo boosted your bikes, you would get your armor save became an invulnerable save. So your invulnerable save went to a 3-up invulnerable save, which they nerfed that in 5th edition. 3rd edition was all about the Rhino Rush, so load up your guys and you could assault out of rhinos, which is why they changed that in 4th edition. You can only assault out of something that has an assault ramp, i.e. Land Raider, what was the new hotness model for 4th edition? The Land Raider. So, load up your squad in the Land Raider, and you can assault right out of that. So a lot of those rules are made to sell models, which is understandable. I really don't hold that against them. But what I do hold against them is not having a concise, clear rule set that is not filled with a lot of bloat and higgledy-piggledy, hocus-pocus, you know. And that's what I feel like. Stratagems and all that sort of thing are. I think it's just a bunch of higgledy-piggledy, hocus-pocus nonsense, you know. And I think it just slows down gameplay. It interrupts things. Sure, you can play without those, but who's doing that? Nobody's doing that, right? Alright, that's pretty cool. I think we're pretty well done with the Raptors, aside from the heads and the arms and the weapons. I put the unused portions of the sprues back in the Raptors box. And I will probably go through my bits and see if I can find more jump packs. So, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got 10 jump packs here. So the rules are too old. Yeah, well, I think they're trying to hold on to certain core principles to make them feel like they're cohesive with previous sets of rules. But they're kind of not. They just don't seem consistent. Let's see what we got for bits. I've got more bits than just what I have in these cases here. Let's see. Bits and bits and bits and bits. Bits and bobs. Arms. 2 arms, 2 arms. Well, I've got 2 arms right here. 2 arms, see? Speaking of 2 arms, where are my British? I got those down to demonstrate. Well, Entropy. Entropy has entered the chat. Entropy has entered the chat. I set that box of British down and I don't know where it's gotten to. I set that box of British down and I don't know where it's gotten to. Remember what I was talking about? These guys could maybe be fascinated with biological experiments. So that didn't come in the Raptors kit. So the Raptors kit gives you the Raptors and the Warp Talons. And for some reason I thought that this might be in the Warp Talons kit. But I would count that as a jump pack as well. So I've got 2 of those. So I don't know what I'm going to do with those. I've got ideas. I've always got ideas. I'm sure some hardcore 40K player could tell me what those are supposed to, which kit those are supposed to go to. Quite honestly, I don't really care. Quite honestly, I don't really care because, again, I'm not going to be using them to play 40K per se with. Even my lore is going to be different. So it's going to be mostly different. It's going to be like 80% different. Alright, so I don't see any bits in here for those. Maybe in my other bin here. Well, it's 5 minutes till 11 anyway, so I think we've done good for tonight for an inaugural season starter. Not that I really have these paint all the things broken up into seasons per se. I just kind of stream as I stream. But anyhow, so let's go ahead and say good night to Rumble and good night to YouTube. Remember, folks, no matter what happened today, the sun is coming up tomorrow and the world is a better place with you in it. And until next time, keep on painting and keep on playing. So for YouTube and Rumble,